Get out! We don't need your kind here. Jessica Thornton pointed aggressively at Lauren Winters, a woman in simple clothes standing confused in the first-class lounge. The airport staff kicked out the simple woman, judging her solely on appearance, but their smug satisfaction turned to horror when her billionaire husband arrived. As Christopher Winters entered the terminal, the staff realized they'd made a terrible mistake, one that would cost them everything. Lauren Winters adjusted the strap of her worn blue duffel bag, feeling distinctly out of place in the gleaming international terminal of Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport. At 38, she preferred comfort over luxury, especially after the exhausting 8-hour flight from Chicago with a lengthy layover. Her light blue t-shirt and gray sweatpants were practical choices for travel, not statements of status. Around her, business travelers in tailored suits wheeled designer luggage across polished floors. Women with perfect blowouts carried handbags that cost more than most people's monthly rent. The terminal resembled a high-end shopping mall more than a transit hub. Lauren checked her watch, still 3 hours before Chris would arrive. Her husband, Christopher Winters, was finalizing a $400 million real estate development in Chicago, while she had flown ahead to prepare their Atlanta vacation home for their anniversary weekend. Despite his immense wealth, they had always lived by their own rules. Lauren had insisted on maintaining her independence, often traveling separately and dressed for comfort rather than appearance. "I should freshen up," she murmured, spotting the first-class lounge where she could shower and change before Chris arrived. She approached the entrance, fishing through her bag for her membership card. Inside the exclusive lounge, Jessica Thornton stood at the reception desk, her pristine white uniform perfectly pressed, not a hair out of place beneath her official cap. Her eyes narrowed as she spotted Lauren approaching. A woman in sweatpants with messy hair and no makeup? Clearly lost. "Excuse me," Lauren smiled politely. "I'd like to use the shower facilities." Jessica's perfectly lined lips twitched. "I believe you're confused. This is the Platinum Elite Lounge. The general waiting area is down the main concourse." "Oh, I know," Lauren nodded, still digging through her bag. "I'm a member, just need to find my card." Jessica exchanged glances with two pilots standing nearby. Captain Michael Donovan and First Officer Alan Richardson were lingering at the desk, enjoying their pre-flight coffee. Both men smirked at the exchange. "Ma'am," Jessica's voice took on a condescending tone, "this lounge is exclusively for our first-class passengers and platinum members." Lauren nodded patiently. "Yes, I understand. My husband and I have been members for years. I just can't seem to find my card right now." Jessica's perfectly arched eyebrow raised higher. "Your husband?" Captain Donovan stepped closer, coffee in hand. "Is there a problem, Jessica?" "This woman claims to be a member," Jessica explained, her tone making it clear how unlikely she found this statement. Lauren continued searching her bag. "I might have packed it in my checked luggage by mistake. Can I just give you my name? Lauren Winters." Jessica tapped dramatically on her computer. "No Lauren Winters on our membership list." "Try Christopher Winters then. The membership might be under his name." At this, both pilots exchanged knowing looks. Captain Donovan chuckled. "Christopher Winters? The real estate mogul?" Lauren nodded, relieved someone recognized the name. "Yes, that's my husband." Jessica's laugh was sharp and immediate. "And I'm married to Brad Pitt. Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave before I call security." "There must be some mistake," Lauren insisted, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment as other lounge patrons began to stare. "I'm telling you the truth. Please, just check again." Jessica stepped out from behind the counter, her posture stiff with authority. "Ma'am, I've checked our system. We have a Christopher Winters on our membership list, but he certainly isn't married to someone who looks like—" She paused, eyes scanning Lauren's casual attire. "You—" Captain Donovan crossed his arms, his gold epaulets gleaming under the recessed lighting. "I've flown Mr. Winters several times on private charters. His wife is a former model who sits on charity boards." The lie rolled easily off his tongue as he enjoyed the small drama unfolding. First Officer Richardson nodded in agreement. "Brunette, always impeccably dressed. I remember her from the aviation gala last spring." Lauren's expression hardened. These men had never met her. She deliberately avoided those kinds of events, preferring to support charities through anonymous donations rather than splashy galas. "That's incorrect. I'm Lauren Winters, and I'd appreciate it if you'd contact my husband or simply allow me to use the facilities I'm entitled to use. Her voice remained steady despite her rising frustration. Jessica's smile turned brittle. Perhaps you have a photo of you with this alleged husband? Lauren hesitated. She and Chris were intensely private, deliberately keeping their relationship off social media and away from prying eyes. Their wedding photos were at home, not in her travel bag. I don't carry photos, but I can call him right now. Lauren reached for her phone. Ma'am, this charade has gone on long enough, Jessica interjected. You're causing a disturbance in our premium lounge area. An older executive sitting nearby looked up from his newspaper, frowning at the commotion. Is there a problem? He asked. Jessica adopted her most professional tone. No problem, Mr. Blackwell. Just a misunderstanding with someone who's in the wrong area. I am not in the wrong area. Lauren's voice rose slightly. This is ridiculous. I'm a member, and I have every right to be here. Captain Donovan stepped closer, his imposing uniform adding weight to his presence. Ma'am, perhaps it's best if you move along. There are perfectly adequate facilities in the main terminal. Lauren stood her ground. I'm not leaving until someone checks properly. Call your manager. Jessica's face flushed. I am the manager on duty, and I'm telling you that you need to leave, now. This is discrimination based on how I'm dressed, Lauren stated firmly. First Officer Richardson chuckled. It's not discrimination to enforce our membership policies, ma'am. More lounge patrons were watching now, some whispering behind manicured hands. Lauren felt her chest tighten with the injustice of it all. She was being humiliated simply because she didn't match their image of wealth. Jessica stepped closer, her voice dropping to a harsh whisper. Either you leave now, or I'll call security and have you escorted out. Your choice. Go ahead and call them, Lauren challenged, her patience finally snapping. I've done nothing wrong. Jessica reached for the phone at her desk. Security to the Platinum Elite Lounge, please. We have an unauthorized individual refusing to leave. This is outrageous, Lauren protested. Captain Donovan leaned in, his voice low. You know, impersonating someone's wife could be considered fraud. You might want to leave before this gets worse. Lauren's heart pounded as she realized she was being threatened by people who should have been serving her. Two security officers arrived swiftly, their faces impassive, as Jessica briefed them in hushed tones. Lauren stood alone, acutely aware of the stares from everyone in the lounge. Ma'am, the taller security officer approached. I understand there's been some confusion about your membership status. Lauren took a deep breath. There's no confusion. I'm Lauren Winters, wife of Christopher Winters. These people refused to verify my identity properly. We did verify, Jessica interjected smoothly. There's no Lauren Winters on our membership list, and she can't provide any identification or proof of her claims. The security officer turned to Lauren. Do you have any ID that shows you're Mrs. Winters? Lauren opened her wallet, producing her driver's license. Here's my ID showing my name, but my membership card seems to be in my checked luggage. The officer examined her license, then handed it back. This confirms you're Lauren Winters, but not that you're a member or related to Christopher Winters. Without proper membership credentials, we can't allow you to use the facilities. This is absurd, Lauren protested. Call my husband. He's landing in 3 hours. Captain Donovan stepped forward, his uniform lending him an air of authority. Officer, I've personally flown for Mr. Winters multiple times. This woman is not his wife. That's a lie! Lauren's voice rose in frustration. You've never even met me before. Jessica placed a hand on the security officer's arm. She's been causing a disturbance for nearly 20 minutes now. Our premium members are trying to relax before their flights. The second security officer moved closer. Ma'am, we need to escort you out of this area. Fine, Lauren said, trying to maintain her dignity. But I'm staying in the airport. My husband is arriving in a few hours, and you'll all be very sorry for how you've treated me. Jessica rolled her eyes, not bothering to hide her disdain. Of course he is. First Officer Richardson chuckled. Should we alert the press? Christopher Winters' arrival is surely newsworthy. The security officers each took one of Lauren's arms. This way, ma'am. Don't touch me, Lauren pulled away. I can walk out myself. As they escorted her through the lounge, conversations halted. Eyes followed her departure, some curious, others judgmental. Lauren's cheeks burned with humiliation, but she held her head high. At the lounge entrance, Jessica stood with her arms crossed, satisfaction evident in her smirk. Perhaps next time you'll think twice before trying to access facilities you're not entitled to use. Lauren stopped, turning to face her. You've made a terrible mistake today. One you'll regret very soon. Is that a threat? Jessica's eyes narrowed. It's a fact, Lauren replied calmly. Outside in the main terminal, the security officers released her. Ma'am, you're free to use the public facilities, but please don't attempt to enter the premium lounges again without proper credentials. Lauren nodded stiffly, watching them return to their posts. She checked her watch, still over 2 hours until Chris's arrival. Her phone battery was nearly dead, and her charger was in her checked bag. She couldn't even call him to explain what had happened. Finding a bench near a crowded gate, Lauren sat down, feeling utterly depleted. No shower, no quiet place to rest, and the lingering sting of public humiliation. A young mother struggling with a crying infant sat down beside her. Lauren offered a sympathetic smile, then rummaged in her bag for a granola bar, which she quietly offered to the frazzled woman. Thank you, the mother said gratefully. Been a rough day. I understand completely, Lauren replied. For the next 2 hours, Lauren sat in the busy terminal, the noise and crowds a stark contrast to the luxury lounge she'd been forcibly removed from. She tried recharging her phone at a public outlet, but it was damaged and wouldn't hold a charge. With each passing minute, her frustration mixed with anticipation. Chris would arrive soon, and this nightmare would end. Occasionally, she caught sight of Captain Donovan and First Officer Richardson, walking through the terminal, laughing together as they headed toward their departure gate. Once they spotted her and smirked in her direction. Lauren looked away, refusing to give them the satisfaction of seeing her distress. At a nearby cafe, Lauren purchased a bottle of water, counting out exact change from her wallet. The barista barely glanced at her, just another tired traveler in comfortable clothes. How different the service was when people thought you weren't wealthy. As she sipped her water, Lauren reflected on her relationship with Christopher. They had met 15 years ago, when he was still building his real estate empire, and she was working as an environmental consultant for city planning. Their connection had been immediate and based on mutual respect. When his business exploded and the millions turned to billions, they had made a conscious decision to keep their relationship private. Money changes how people see you, Chris had said. I want people in my life who value me for who I am, not what I own. Lauren had agreed wholeheartedly. She'd witnessed the sycophants and opportunists who circled the wealthy like sharks. They'd kept their wedding small, avoided society photographers, and lived well but quietly. Lauren had continued her environmental work, focusing on sustainable building practices that she sometimes convinced Chris to implement in his developments. The terminal announcement system crackled to life. Flight 1857 from Chicago is now arriving at Gate C-42. Lauren's heart leapt. Chris's flight. She gathered her duffel bag and made her way to the arrival area, positioning herself where she could spot him easily. Passengers began streaming through the gate, businessmen loosening their ties, families reuniting with hugs, flight attendants rolling their compact luggage toward the exit. Then she saw him. Christopher Winters stood 6'2", his presence commanding even after a long flight. His tailored suit remained crisp, his salt and pepper hair perfectly styled. Despite his wealth and power, it was his warm eyes that had first attracted Lauren, kind eyes that lit up when they spotted her in the crowd. His smile faltered when he saw her exhausted expression. Lauren? What happened? Why didn't you use the lounge? He wrapped her in a tight embrace. She sagged against him, relief washing over her. It's a long story. They wouldn't let me in, accused me of lying about who I am. Christopher's body stiffened. What? Who wouldn't let you in? The lounge manager, Jessica. And there were 2 pilots who claimed they knew you and said I wasn't your wife. His expression darkened. Show me. Chris, it's not worth... It absolutely is. His voice was quiet but firm. No one treats my wife this way. As they walked toward the Platinum Elite Lounge, Lauren noticed people's reactions changing. Travelers who had ignored her earlier now did double takes, noting her association with the imposing, obviously wealthy man beside her. Several people nodded deferentially toward Christopher, recognizing him despite their efforts to maintain privacy. Lauren squeezed his hand. Remember, we agreed not to use your influence to... This isn't about influence, Christopher interrupted. This is about basic respect. As they approached the Platinum Elite Lounge, Jessica Thornton was greeting a businessman with the same practiced smile she used for all premium members. Her expression froze when she spotted Lauren approaching, now accompanied by an imposing man in an expensive suit. "Lauren, is that her?" Christopher asked quietly. Lauren nodded. "That's Jessica." Christopher's jaw tightened as he guided Lauren directly to the lounge entrance. Jessica immediately stepped forward, her smile wobbling slightly as she took in Christopher's clearly expensive attire. "Good afternoon, sir. Welcome to our Platinum Elite Lounge. May I see your membership card?" Christopher reached into his wallet and extracted a black card embossed with platinum lettering. "Christopher Winters. And this is my wife, Lauren Winters." Jessica's face drained of color as she looked from the card to Lauren and back again. "Mr. Winters, there must be some mistake." "Indeed there was," Christopher replied, his voice dangerously calm. "My wife informed me that she was denied entry earlier today. She was accused of lying about her identity and forcibly removed by security." Jessica's hand trembled slightly as she scanned the membership card. We had no way to verify her claims without proper identification. So instead, you humiliated her, called her a liar, had her physically escorted out?" With each question, Christopher's voice grew colder. By now, other lounge staff had noticed the confrontation and were watching nervously. Several patrons were openly staring, including the executive who had witnessed Lauren's expulsion earlier. Jessica stammered, "Sir, we have strict protocols." "I'm well aware of the protocols," Christopher interrupted. "As a founding Platinum member who's contributed over $20 million to your airline's expansion projects, I helped write some of them. Nowhere do those protocols state that staff should publicly humiliate members based on their appearance." A tall man in a tailored suit approached rapidly from the lounge interior. "Mr. Winters, what an unexpected pleasure. I'm Thomas Bailey, Regional Director. Is there a problem I can help with?" Christopher turned to the director. "Mr. Bailey, your staff member here denied my wife access to facilities we pay a substantial premium to use. She was treated with contempt and physically removed from the premises." Bailey's expression shifted from welcoming to concerned. "I can't express how deeply disturbing this is to hear. We pride ourselves on exceptional service to all our members." "All your well-dressed members, perhaps," Lauren interjected quietly. At that moment, Captain Donovan and First Officer Richardson approached, their confident stride faltering when they recognized Christopher standing beside Lauren. "Ah, and here are the pilots who claim to know me personally," Christopher nodded toward the men. "The ones who told my wife she was committing fraud by claiming to be married to me." Captain Donovan's face paled. "Mr. Winters, there was a misunderstanding. You stated that you've flown me multiple times," Christopher continued, "and that my wife is a former model who attends charity galas. Interesting, considering I exclusively use my own private jet, and Lauren deliberately avoids public events." First Officer Richardson looked at his shoes, unable to maintain eye contact. The executive who had witnessed Lauren's expulsion approached, extending his hand to Christopher. "Jim Blackwell Winters, I saw what happened earlier. Disgraceful treatment of your wife. These people should be ashamed." Jessica appeared on the verge of tears. "Mr. Winters, please accept my deepest apologies. I never intended—" "Intentions are irrelevant," Christopher cut her off. "Your actions and those of your colleagues were inexcusable." Thomas Bailey's professional demeanor couldn't hide his growing panic. One of their most valuable members had been insulted, and worse, it had happened in full view of other premium customers. He pulled Jessica aside, whispering urgently before turning back to the Winters. "Mr. and Mrs. Winters, please allow me to escort you personally to our executive suite while we address this matter. I assure you this incident will be handled with the utmost seriousness." Christopher shook his head. "That won't be necessary, Mr. Bailey. We have no intention of staying where my wife has been so badly mistreated." Lauren placed a gentle hand on his arm. "Chris, you've just had a long flight. Maybe we should—" "No," he said firmly. "Some things are more important than comfort." He turned to Bailey. "What I want is accountability." Bailey nodded nervously. "Of course, sir. I've already instructed Ms. Thornton to clear her desk. Rest assured she will no longer be employed with us after today." Jessica's eyes widened in shock. "Mr. Bailey, please! I was only following—" You were following your own prejudices, Bailey snapped. We've had multiple complaints about your attitude toward customers you deemed unworthy. Christopher raised an eyebrow. And the pilots who lied about knowing me? Captain Donovan stepped forward, his earlier arrogance replaced with obvious anxiety. Mr. Winters, sir, we were simply trying to support our colleague. You never intended to get caught, Christopher corrected him. You're both scheduled to fly to Dallas this evening, correct? First Officer Richardson nodded mutely. Not anymore, Christopher stated flatly. Mr. Bailey, I'll be making a call to your CEO, whom I've known for 15 years. These men should not be representing your airline. By now, a small crowd had gathered, watching the powerful man defend his wife's dignity. Lauren stood quietly beside him, her simple clothes and natural face a stark contrast to the carefully curated appearances surrounding them. An older woman approached Lauren, touching her arm gently. Good for you, dear. I've been flying first class for 40 years, and the snobbery has gotten out of hand. Your husband is right to stand up for you. Bailey was now in full damage control mode. Mr. Winters, I completely understand your frustration, but perhaps we could discuss this privately. I'm sure we can come to an arrangement that— This isn't about an arrangement, Christopher interrupted. This is about basic human decency. My wife was judged solely on her appearance and treated shamefully as a result. Jim Blackwell, the executive who had witnessed Lauren's earlier humiliation, nodded in agreement. I saw the whole thing, Bailey. These people didn't even bother checking her ID properly. Just assumed she didn't belong because she wasn't dressed like them. Jessica stood frozen, tears streaming down her face as she realized the magnitude of her mistake. Captain Donovan and First Officer Richardson remained silent, their careers potentially over because of a few careless moments of cruelty. Christopher placed his arm protectively around Lauren's shoulders. We're leaving now. I expect your CEO to contact me directly about this incident. And Mr. Bailey? Yes, sir, Bailey replied anxiously. I'm launching a new hospitality venture next month. Perhaps you should emphasize to your staff that treating all customers with respect isn't just morally right. It's good business. You never know who might be watching, or who owns the building you're standing in. With those parting words, Christopher and Lauren turned and walked away, leaving stunned silence in their wake. In the sleek black Bentley heading away from the airport, Lauren finally allowed herself to relax. She leaned her head against Christopher's shoulder, closing her eyes briefly. You didn't tell me you owned the airport building, she murmured. Christopher's lips quirked into a small smile. Acquired it last month. It was going to be a surprise, part of the Atlanta portfolio expansion. Lauren laughed softly. Well, it certainly surprised Jessica and those pilots. The chauffeur navigated through Atlanta traffic as Lauren recounted the full story of her humiliation. Christopher listened quietly, his expression growing darker with each detail. I'm sorry you went through that, he said finally. No one should be treated that way, regardless of who they are or who they're married to. Lauren nodded. It wasn't just me, Chris. People get judged like that every day. The only difference is most of them don't have a billionaire husband to swoop in and defend them. Outside the car window, Atlanta's skyline gleamed in the late afternoon sun. Several of those buildings bore the Winters name, or had been developed by Christopher's company. I meant what I said back there, Christopher spoke thoughtfully. This isn't just about right and wrong, it's about good business. Companies that judge people based on appearances lose valuable customers and employees. Lauren turned to face him. So what happens now? Will you really get those pilots fired? Christopher considered for a moment. That depends on them. I'll speak with the CEO about implementing a company-wide sensitivity training program. If they're willing to participate and actually learn from this, maybe they deserve a second chance. And Jessica, she was in a leadership position and set the tone for how customers were treated. That's different. His expression softened. What do you think should happen? It was you she mistreated. Lauren thought carefully before answering. I think she needs to understand the impact of her actions. Maybe instead of just firing her, she should work in customer service for people from all walks of life. Christopher squeezed her hand. This is why I fell in love with you, always looking for solutions rather than punishments. As they pulled up to their Buckhead vacation home, Lauren felt the weight of the day's events lifting. Their housekeeper had prepared everything for their arrival, and the familiar comfort of their private space welcomed them. Later that evening, as they sat on their terrace overlooking the city lights, Christopher received a call from the airline's CEO, profusely apologizing and asking how they could make amends. "It's not about making amends to us," Christopher replied, looking at Lauren for confirmation. She nodded encouragingly. "It's about changing a culture that judges people based on appearances. I have some suggestions if you're interested." After the call, Lauren curled up beside him on the outdoor sofa. "You know, in a strange way, I'm almost glad this happened." Christopher raised an eyebrow. "Really?" "It reminded me of what matters, not the luxury lounges or platinum memberships, but how we treat each other." She looked up at the star-filled sky. "And it reminded me how lucky I am to have a husband who sees people for who they are, not what they wear or how they look." Christopher kissed her gently. "I learned that from you, Lauren. You've always seen the real me, even when others only saw the bank account." Together they sat in comfortable silence, two people who had found authentic connection in a world often distracted by surfaces and appearances. In a world where people are too often judged by appearances rather than character, today's story reminds us of a simple truth. Dignity and respect should be afforded to everyone. Lauren and Christopher Winters' experience highlights how quickly we make assumptions based on clothing, accessories, or perceived status. Have you ever been unfairly judged, or perhaps caught yourself making snap judgments about others? Share your experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you and where you're watching from. If this story resonated with you, please hit that subscribe button and join our community of viewers who appreciate stories of justice, dignity, and the triumph of character over appearances. Remember, true worth isn't found in designer labels or exclusive memberships. It's found in how we treat each other. Until next time, thank you for watching, and may you both give and receive the respect every human deserves.